I spend most of my nights smelling like a soggy grilled cheese sandwich and wondering why my belly is empty despite my big plans for a banquet. I am a master of staring at the moon and dreaming of the giant overflowing silver beans behind the fancy steakhouse, while I actually just sit in the dirt licking a gum wrapper. I used to be the kind of raccoon who had the grandest ideas in the entire forest. I could see the prize so clearly. I imagined myself sitting on a throne of chicken wings and discarded donuts, the undisputed king of the cul-de-sac. But when the sun went down and it was time to actually climb the fence, I froze. I would sit in my attic, twitching my whiskers and telling myself that tomorrow night the dogs would be sleepier or the trash would be higher quality. I was an ambitious furball who was absolutely stuck in the mud. I knew I was capable of scaling the tallest chimney in the county, but I just couldn't make my paws move. It wasn't because I was a bad critter or a dim-witted one. It was just the way my brain was wired. I had built a cozy little nest of excuses. I would wake up at dusk with the best intentions, ready to finally get my paws dirty. But then I'd find a shiny piece of tinfoil or a discarded soda can, and I'd spend 3 hours batting it around like a toy. Before I knew it, the sun was coming up and I hadn't gathered a single scrap. I felt like a failure, lying in my nest with a rumbling stomach, promising myself that the next night would be different. I was living in a constant fight with myself. One part of me wanted the feast, but the other part of me just wanted to stay warm and safe. My brain saw the hard work of scavenging as a threat. It saw the barking dogs, the slippery roofs, and the possibility of coming home with nothing. So it offered me the easy path of playing with shiny trash instead. That felt good for a second, but it was stealing my future happiness. I was teaching myself that my dreams didn't matter as much as a quick hit of fun. I thought I just lacked some magical discipline that the fat, successful raccoons in the next neighborhood were born with. But discipline isn't a gift, it is a muscle you build by grabbing one piece of kibble at a time. I also struggled with being too picky. I wanted the perfect plan before I left the tree. I wanted to be sure every lead was loose and every dog was tied up. But the perfect night never comes. While I was waiting for the ideal conditions, the other raccoons were out there getting the good stuff. I was scared that if I actually tried and failed, I'd have to admit I wasn't the master scavenger I pretended to be. It was easier to stay in the fantasy of being great than to risk being a muddy mess in the real world. But I learned that doing nothing is the only way to truly lose. Every successful scavenger has been chased up a tree or sprayed by a hose more times than I had even tried to jump a fence. They just kept moving. They took messy action. They started scavenging before they felt ready. If you want to break the cycle, you have to accept that you aren't going to feel like doing the work. You have to climb that drain pipe even when your paws are cold and your heart is thumping. Every time you push through the fear, you are rewiring your attic to be stronger. Start small. Don't try to raid the whole grocery store on your first night. Just commit to sniffing one new bin or climbing one low branch. Do it tonight and then do it again tomorrow. Consistency is what fills the belly. At first, it's going to feel terrible. Your brain will scream at you to go back to sleep. You have to ignore the chatter and keep your paws moving. Eventually, the resistance gets quieter. I also had to change my environment. If I stayed near the shiny toy pile, I'd play with toys. I had to move my nest away from the distractions and closer to the prize. It isn't a willpower problem, it's a setup problem. Stop looking for more information on how to be a better raccoon. You already know how to use your paws. You don't need another podcast about trash. You need to go find some trash. Your first few hauls are going to be garbage, literally. You might bring home a dry bone or a bit of cardboard. That's fine. You aren't trying to be a legend on night one. You are just trying to build the habit of showing up. When you mess up and get stuck in a gutter, don't beat yourself up. Guilt doesn't fill your stomach. Just shake the water off your fur and try the next house. You aren't a lazy creature. You've just been stuck in a bad pattern. You have the potential to be a master scavenger if you stop wishing and start grabbing. Ambition without a muddy tail is just a daydream. Stop scrubbing your paws in the puddle trying to get them perfectly clean before you start. A messy, dirty prize in your claws is worth way more than a clean, empty paw. Now get out of the attic, stop overthinking the fence, and go grab your feast.